Okay, so with this question here, it gives you a triangle. You're given two sides, you're given an angle, and you're asked to find the area of the triangle, right? So this would be a typical kind of a question that will come up on the leave insert, and the reason why is because it uses all different strands here, right? So first thing that you're looking at is you're looking at a triangle. You have two sides, and you're missing an angle here, you're missing an angle here, you have an angle here. What you need to do is you need to find the area. So you know that in order to find the area, you need to have half AB sine C, right? So half AB sine C. So if I was going to get the area of this triangle, I'd have to get half AB sine C. So if I was getting half AB sine C, that just means I'm getting the area of A, B, and C. So in this case, I'd be labeling this C, and I'd be labeling this A, and I'd be labeling this B, right? But the issue that I have is that I don't have a value for C. So if I don't have a value for C, then I'm not able to get the area using half AB sine C, okay? So that's when I need to start thinking, how am I going to find C? So when you look at this, you need to run through these questions here, and you need to see, how am I going to find C? And it's actually very straightforward if you do it systematically, right? So in order to find C, you need to go back through what you already know. So angles in a triangle adding up to 180 degrees. That would help me if I knew what this was, but because I don't know what this is, it doesn't help me, okay? So that's not going to work, so I scratch that off. A 90-degree triangle, I don't know if this is a 90-degree triangle, but I can't assume that it is, so I can't use that. So I can't use Pythagoras' theorem, and I can't use trig ratios, because trig ratios only work with 90-degree triangles. That brings me on to the area of the triangle, which I'm looking for, so that's no help to me at the minute. So how I'm going to find C is I'm going to use the sine rule, okay? So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use the sine rule. So I'm just going to bring the sine rule up here. So I'm just going to bring the sine rule up and put that over here. So sine rule states that A over sine A is equal to B over sine B. So I'm just going to draw out the triangle that I'm dealing with. So the triangle that I'm dealing with is this one. I have here 65. I have here 4. I have here 6. And I'm looking here for this value here, and I'm going to put that in as x for now. Okay, so I'm going to have to use the sine rule to find out what x is. If I find out what x is, then I'll know what this value is. And if I know what that value is, then I'll be able to get the area of the triangle using half AB sine C. So just to fill that in so that you know, the area is equal to half AB sine C. But I'm fairly sure that you'd be okay at that, right? So we'll start off with the sine rule. So how the sine rule works, and you should know this from all the workings that we've done with the sine rule already, is you have to have opposite sides and opposite angles, okay? So in order to find out what x is there, okay, I have to have opposite sides and opposite angles. So I'm going to pair the two of these off, okay? So I can keep two of them together, so that's two values. So the sine rule, I'll just write out the sine rule first. A over sine A is equal to B over sine B. So at the minute, I've got a side and an opposite angle. So a side and an opposite angle. So I can use them. So that's one fraction filled in. But the other fraction, I need a side and an angle. So in this case, I'm looking for this here, which is an unknown. I can't pair this with this because I'd have two unknowns. So there's no point in me saying is equal to question mark over question mark or x over x because I have too many unknowns. So what I need to do is I need to find these ones. So I'm going to pair these ones together. Okay. And the reason why I'm going to pair them together is because if I work out what this angle is, so there's a lot of steps in this, right? But if I can work out what this angle is here, which I'm going to call y for now. So if I can work out what y is equal to, then I'll know what this is equal to, and I'll be able to find this because what I know from the very first thing that I learned about triangles is that every triangle has 180 degrees. So if I knew what these two were, I could add them together and take them away from 180, and that would tell me what x is. Okay, so I'm going to use the greens and use the pinks. It's very, very important that you understand that when you pair them off, it has to be the side opposite the angle. So it has to be these two together, and it has to be a side opposite an angle. So it has to be these two together. I can't pair off 6 and y because they're not opposite. And similarly, I can't pair off 4 and 65 because they're not opposite. Okay, so like I said, this sum has the sine rule, okay, which we're doing now. Then we'll have to use angles in a triangle equals 180, and then we'll have to use area triangles. So this is the way these questions come up, and that's what I was saying to you earlier about how each of these questions, we're doing these as individual topics, you could say, or individual sections, but when they're actually asked on exams, they're asked like this, where you have to do so many different things in order to find an answer. Okay, so let's just fill in what we have. So when we're using the sine rule, which we are here, I said this to you before, anytime I'm filling in the sine rule, I always put my unknowns into the first fraction. It's just what I do, it makes things easier, I find. So I'm going to look at the question that I have. These are both numbers, so that's fine. They can go into the second fraction. Here I have an unknown, which is y, so I'm going to put the pink ones into the first fraction. So what I do is a represents a side. So if I'm going to use the pink ones, a lowercase represents a side, so I'm going to put 4 in there for the side. All over sine a, and sine of a is sine of y. Okay, and that's equal to b, okay, which is the green ones. So lowercase b means the side, so the side is going to be 6. So I can put 6 in there. All over sine of b, and obviously sine of the angle, the green angle, is 65. So that's going to be sine of 65. Okay, when I have a fraction equals a fraction, which I have now, okay, how I get rid of a fraction equals a fraction is very, very easy. I just cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply the bottom there, the denominator in the first fraction, by the numerator in the second. So I'm going to multiply the two of them together. And I'm going to do the same with the two of these. Okay, so the equal sign stays in the middle. And I'm going to multiply the blue ones there, as you can see, and the white ones there. Like I said, I like to keep my unknowns on the left-hand side. So I look at this and I can see the only unknown, I have a number here, and this represents a number. So the only unknown is sine y. So I'm going to keep these blue ones here on the left-hand side. So 6 sine y, 6 sine y is equal to, and I'm going to put the white ones there on the right-hand side, which is 4 sine 65. Okay, so we now have a linear equation. So what I mean by that is we've no fractions, so it makes it easy. So what I need to do is I need to look at what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for a value for y. So I'm going to highlight this here because this all is, the y there is involved in all this. And I can see there it'd be very easy to get rid of that 6, because what I'm doing here is I'm multiplying sine y by 6. So to get rid of this here, all I need to do is divide the left-hand side by 6. Okay, but if I divide the left-hand side by 6, I have to divide the right-hand side by 6. So sine y is equal to 4 sine 65, and I'm dividing this side by 6. So what I did there, I divided the left-hand side by 6, so I was left with just sine y. But because I divided the left-hand side by 6, I have to divide the right-hand side by 6. The last thing that I need to look at now to find the value for y, and again, that'll just tell me this value. Once I have this value, I'll be able to find this value. Once I have this value, I'll be able to get the area. So there's a good few steps left, but this is one of the last steps in the sine rule. Okay. So what I need to do now is I need to get y by itself. So at the minute, I've got sine y. I don't want sine y, I just want y. Okay. And how I get y, if I have sine y here, In order to get y by itself, I need to do the inverse or the opposite function to sine y, and the opposite function to sine y is sine inverse. Okay, so I'll need to get the sine inverse of both sides. So I'll need to get sine -1 or sine inverse of this here. Okay, I'm just going to put that there in brackets. Okay, so we're almost there. So I'm just going to bring these up just a small bit to make room. Okay. So there's enough room there now. So what we need to do is we need to type that into the calculator. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how you put that into the calculator. So we're here, sine -1 or sine inverse is equal to 4 sine 65 over 6. So to type this into the calculator, just turn on your calculator. So press the power button, obviously, and then press AC to clear your calculator. Okay, you should see that there's a small little D up the top of the screen. If I was to show you that, so if you zoom in, there's a small little D there. That means that your calculator is working in degrees. If your calculator is not in degrees, it's easy fix. Just press Shift, Mode, and 3 for degrees, okay? So it's important you have that right. So next thing is to type this in, right? So to type this into the calculator, we need the sine inverse button. So sine inverse is the button that you can see it there. It's the yellow writing there that says sine -1. So in order to get the yellow writing, we need to press Shift and then sine. So Shift first and then sine. So you can see that pops up. Now I need to put in this fraction. So to put in that fraction, I need to press the fraction button. So the fraction button is here. And I need to put in 4 sine 65. So 4, oh, I'll go back one. 4 sine 65. You can see there that it opened the brackets, so I need to close them. So I'm going to close the brackets now. I'm going to bring that down. So press the down button and fill in your denominator, which in this case is 6. Bring it out and close your fraction. Press your equals button and you'll find out what it's equal to. So the answer there, y in this case will be equal to 37.1 degrees. And for this question, what we're going to do is we're going to round that off. So I just rounded that off to the nearest degree. And how I did that was I looked at it here. I brought that decimal points obviously there. So I looked at the number that follows. If that's 5 or greater, 37 would have rounded up. But in this case, it's less than 5, so it just rounds off to 37 degrees. Now, the question would have said give your answer to correct 1 decimal place, or correct 2 decimal places, whatever maybe you're correct to the nearest degree. I'm assuming in this case that it's saying correct to the nearest degree because I'm dealing with degrees here, right? So I now know that this is 37, so I'm going to put that back in here. So this here I know is 37 degrees. Okay, which really helps me because now I can use what I know. I know that the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So if I was to add this, this, and this, I would get 180 degrees. Okay, so what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to make a bit of room. So what I could do there is I could say I can work out what C is, and how I work out what C is, I'll do it in pink so that you can see. So 65 plus 37 plus C is equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so 65 plus 37 is 102. So 102 plus C is equal to 180 degrees. To find out what C is, I need to take 102 away from 180, and C in this case will be equal to 78. So I now know that C is equal to 78. Okay, I'll just square that off in a little box just because Otherwise you'd be wondering where that came in the video or in the solutions. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is work out what the area of the triangle is, and that's a quite straightforward one, right? So we'll get that done. The area of the triangle, so the area of the triangle is half AB sine C. Just see if I have enough room to fit it there. I don't. So half AB sine C. Okay, so the area is half AB sine C. We know the triangle is there. I'll just bring that over so we can see. So it's going to be half of AB times C. So half of 4 times 6 times sine 78. So half of 4 times 6 times sine of 78. So you can see there where they came from. When we're getting the area of a triangle, you have to have a side angle side. So it has to be an angle in the middle. So A is 4, B is 6, C is sine 78. Okay. And we can type all that straight into our calculator. And if you were to type that straight into the calculator, finish this off, all we need to do is we need to type in half of 4 times 6 times sine of 78. So again, just clear a calculator. So AC, and type in a half. So I normally write in 0.5 because it's quicker. A half times 4 times 6 times sine of 78. Close your bracket and press equals. So your answer there is 11.773. So we can put our answer there. And again, if we give it to the nearest, what we'll do is we'll give it to 2 decimal places just for the sake of it, just for practice. So if we went back 2 decimal places, 1, 2, draw our line. We look at the number that follows. In this case, it's a 7. That 7 causes this tree to round up. So my answer there for the area will be equal to 11.74 centimeters squared. And that's that question done.